Cheers. Right, it's a pleasure to be invited for my first trip to Latin America, and so therefore my first trip to Buenos Aires. And time is short. I wanted to just show you a few things of London in terms of transport. I was, as you heard, for 8 years the Vice Chairman of Transport for London. We were responsible for buses, taxis, cycling, the river use for passengers, the London Underground Railway, and various other transport activities. But the important thing about all those transport projects that I kept trying to instill upon my colleagues in London is that good public transport creates higher land values, and in London those increase in land values are given almost tax-free to private landowners. And in London we saw from the 1980s, this was a banana wharf in London's Docklands that stood empty for over 30 years. It was a derelict building, but it actually went from this to this. And the person who took the first photograph took the second photograph, but things had changed so much he couldn't find the same spot from which to take the photograph. The tall skyscrapers in the back are known as Canary Wharf because of the old banana warehouse. And today, over 60,000 workers are able to get to those offices because of the transport investment in roads, a road tunnel into the Isle of Dogs, the Jubilee Line, the Docklands Light Railway, and the bus services. And without that transport infrastructure, then fewer than 6,000 people would get to those tall office blocks each day. And you just imagine what that would do to the land value. The offices would stand empty and the landowners would lose land value. This was documented in a book written by a friend of ours called Don Riley. He called it Taken for a Ride. And that is a picture of people on the Jubilee Line going to Canary Wharf. But the title does not refer to the passengers being taken for a ride on the trains. It refers to the taxpayers who were taken for a ride by the landowners. Farther away. Okay. Don Riley has shown that land around the Jubilee Line extension stations has increased by £13 billion. Multiply that by 6, I suppose, to put it into pesos. And the line itself only cost £3.5 billion. So a huge surplus has been given to private landowners, many of whom have companies offshore, so they pay no taxes on that wealth. And this is not unique. It happens whenever a good transport system is provided where people need it. When we started the early railways in the UK almost 200 years ago, land values increased. Similarly, in America, towns fought to get the railroad crossing America to come through their town because they knew it was a free gift in extra land values. So who should pay the transport costs? Who benefits from public transport? Obviously, travellers enjoy the use of public transport. Car and taxi occupants enjoy quieter roads. Businesses become accessible to staff, and they enjoy more efficient transportation of their goods. But one that never gets mentioned, except at conferences like this, is a hidden beneficiary, and that is the landowner. The landowner will charge individuals higher rents for their flats and their homes. They will charge businesses higher rents for their business premises, their offices, their factories, their warehouses, etc., especially their shops. And we're being told this all the time in the UK press. This reads, the profit zone. This one reads, travelling times to London drive property prices. That means increases property prices. So it's no secret. Everybody should know what happens, and somebody wanting to buy a house will look at the advertisement, and if the advertisement says 1 hour by train to London, and there's another house which is only 25 minutes by train to London, they will pay more for the house. Even an identical building, they will pay more if it's a better transport link. And the Financial Times, our business newspaper, the pink newspaper in London, actually tells people buyers who predict new road and rail links can make a fortune. But is transport the only driver of land values? If you listen to transport professionals, the transport planners in the UK, you would have thought so. They ignore the other drivers. They ignore the fact that good police and low crime means people will pay more to be located in that neighbourhood than in a neighbourhood with high crime rates. They ignore the fact that good schools in England, some parents will pay £50,000, £60,000, £80,000 extra for a house in the catchment area of a good school so their children can have a better education. Public parks and gardens. We all like to see the views and to exercise in public parks and gardens. And I know in Buenos Aires, dogs particularly like to go round your parks. I see them 20 at a time on one lead. It's absolutely amazing. And for me as a God lover, I annoy the person walking the dog because I want to stroke them all. Shops and retail, farming, river views, all of these things create extra land value. So it's the geography and the nature of a site that affects its land value, but it is also the public and private services that around the site add to its land value. If you have an office block and you're looking for tenants, if your office block is isolated, you won't get such a good rent from your tenants as if the office block is in a community where people during their lunch break can go out and get a haircut, buy a dress, go and have a meal, buy a takeaway snack. All these private businesses around the office block add to the value of the land where the office block is located. So the thing is, we all, every one of us, create land values. It isn't anybody else, it is us. We create land values. We create land values how we spend our money. We create land values through our employment by providing goods and services that people want. Land itself is a free gift of nature. It comes to us at no cost. Nature does not charge us. We do not need to use any labour or any capital to create land and location value. It is a free gift. I argue, morally, it is a free gift to everybody. It should not be considered a free gift for an elite few. What it means is that landowners enjoy unearned wealth. wealth they do not need to work for. So who should governments encourage? Should they encourage wage earners? Should they encourage people who save and invest? Or should they encourage land speculators and land owners? By working, by saving and creating capital, machinery with which to produce more wealth, we actually are creating the wealth that we all enjoy, the clothes we wear, the chairs we sit on, the buildings that we occupy. But landowners investing in land don't supply any more land. The planet doesn't get bigger overnight because more money's been invested in land. It is all investment in land produces is higher and higher land prices, and we know what happens with land bubbles. So our tax system in my country and many countries actually rewards landowners and land speculators and says, we won't tax you, but we will tax the person who rolls up their sleeves and goes to work. We will tax the person who doesn't waste their money on alcohol or tobacco. They save their money and they invest it. We will tax that person. It must be our government thinks it's wrong to work. They think it is wrong to invest, to save our money. They probably even think it's wrong to spend money because most countries charge us sales taxes when we spend our money. But if we speculate in land and produce no wealth, but take the wealth of others that are producing, then governments obviously think that's a good thing that needs to be rewarded and incentivised. So they penalise workers, they penalise savers, and reward landowners. In my country, with no payment of land rent, the owners of buildings and sites are able to become richer because the value of the land, that is the location value, increases as society develops. The economy grows and new infrastructure and services are provided. When I talk about location value, imagine two houses, identical. They have the same front door, they have the same number of rooms, they've got the same roofs, the same size garden, absolutely identical, made from the same materials. One in the centre of Buenos Aires, right in the heart of Buenos Aires. The other one right out in the countryside somewhere. Which one do you think would sell for the most money? The cost of building those houses is identical. The amount of labour and machinery used and materials to build those two houses is virtually identical. But the reason for the difference in price is location value. And the owner of the two sites on which the houses sit have not created that location value. And empty sites in my country become an eyesore. People dump rubbish, you get rats, you get people invade and drug abuse and all sorts of nasty things go on. This one has got an old toilet, an old bath dumped in the empty office block. And this is just down the road from where I live in West London, near to Heathrow Airport. And I know the bloke who used to run this as a factory. He used to make great big pumps for ships. His grandfather started the business on the site because there's two rivers, the River Thames and the River Brent. And it was an ideal site for bringing in materials and for taking the pumps away.